Welcome to the Tutors of Life podcast, where we research life so you don't have to. Episode 234. This is your host, Shaun Tudor.
And this is Sam. This is a talk episode where the tutors talk.
What's up?
I love the fact that I've told you that I look at the camera, so that's my cue of when to, cut the video. Because there's, 5 minutes of excess in the beginning. And yet you still just take your sweet ass time.
Huh. Guess I didn't know that. To be honest with you, I don't remember having that conversation.
I'm not surprised.
But that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just take my time.
Yep. This will be the last video for a couple of weeks that you'll see buns.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sad.
I know. Buns, unfortunately, is not coming with on our trip.
Sam's solace, we could say.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's take a road trip so we can take Bones. And Sam's like, let's not take her. It's like, oh, sweet.
We both kind of decided not to take her. It's not just me. A lot of places just aren't as dog friendly that we'd want to go to. Plus, she has a hard time in new places anyways. So since almost every single night we're going to be in a different hotel, it would be impossible to get her acclimated to every place. So the trip would have been really hard to do if we would have brought her.
Right. Yep. So she's staying, and it's sad.
It's sad. But she gets to stay with her best friend Dexter, so.
Right. I couldn't even imagine having a fucking kid.
And the dog, okay, why? Just because she's going to Dexter?
I'm over here it's hard to leave my dog for 2 weeks. Very difficult to leave my dog for 2 weeks. I feel like if you had a kid, that'd be way harder to leave them for 2 weeks.
I don't know.
I bet you do.
I could see in some aspects, but in other aspects, I think you could also be like, man, it's so nice to get a break from them. Because you got to think, they're needy.
Mimi needs the kisses.
Yeah, but we can, go around and do stuff and have to, constantly watch her.
Right.
And, we already meal prepped her food, so we just hand her a bowl. Well, we mix it and then hand her a bowl.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. It's hard to say because we don't have kids.
It's really hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I just assume.
I think the first time would be hard, probably. It depends on age, I guess.
You think so?
Yeah. Because I could see, very young, it being hard because they're just, your cute little baby and whatever. But, once they're, 2 and 3 and they're, demons, I'm sure it's just, thank God.
Maybe.
Just my opinion.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out someday.
Eventually.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What else is new?
Who else were we talking to? And they also were I'm not necessarily interested in having kids, but I feel like I have to. There's someone else we were talking to.
There's my massage guy.
Yes.
But then he's like, I don't give a fuck, I ain't doing it. I was like, love that.
Yeah. I think there's someone else our age, too, that has said that to us.
Yeah.
I
know some people are just excited for kids, and their goal in life is to get married, have kids, do that shit like Kyle and Katie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just over here
do we have to?
We gotta have these things, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A little different.
It is. Yeah.
A little different.
That's what Brooke always says too. Whenever I bring up kids, because she's always just so interested. Because she's like, it's just so weird to hear someone decide if they want to have kids. Because she didn't have a choice. She got knocked up.
Yeah. She had a choice.
Yes, but she still thinks it's weird that we're deciding when to have kids. She's just I never got to she never got to decide when.
Right. Yeah. Right. And we do kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe my shit won't fire.
I have thought about that recently. I'm what if we tell everyone we're trying for kids and then it just doesn't happen because Shaun's just Sean.
Sterile as fuck.
We couldn't take Kyle's because Kyle has brown eyes, and then that would mean all of our kids would have brown eyes. No offense, Kyle.
We wouldn't even do the surrogate style. I'd just have him come over and load you up.
No.
No?
No.
Family style.
No.
All right, maybe not. Huh.
We'd have to get it working somehow. We need to keep the light-eyed gene going.
Keep the lineage.
Yeah.
When you put it that way, gotta keep the lineage going.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we just have, like, boys. Like, all of them are boys.
How many boys do you want, Sean?
As many as you can handle.
Okay. Sounds terrifying, but from what I've gathered, from what I've observed, boys are really easy like the first couple years, and then they're really difficult until they mellow out at like what, 12?
Boys usually mellow out around 30.
Okay, but
27,
like
probably 26, 27.
no, like you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Like you were always just constantly go 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 for that long?
I became very self-sufficient at like 13.
Yeah, so 12, 13. Okay.
Yeah.
Girls are like pretty easy, pretty chill. And then you get like teenager, and then it's just like drama and emotions.
That would fucking suck.
So, right, you have to either deal with the psychopath kid, which is a boy, for 10 years, or then you have to deal with the psychopath girl for about 10 years.
Probably
Nice.
longer than that.
Some of them.
For both boys and girls.
Yeah. It varies.
I don't know. It's interesting. It'll depend. I don't know. We'll see.
That's my professional observation.
Okay. Yeah.
Or you could also have boys, I guess, that are into gaming, and then they just, like,
Don't say that.
game.
No.
They just want to sit and game.
What would be the point of having a boy then?
They could become a computer nerd, build us a new tower.
Here's the deal. Or, hear me out, or they could do chores. Chorin.
Yeah, but once you get their choring done.
And then instead of that, they could be like working on something else.
Could be.
More chores. Schoolwork. And then more chores.
Well, if they're homeschooled, they probably only work on schoolwork for half the day.
Dude, so kids nowadays only have 5 classes.
This is not all classes, all schools.
Oh, sure.
I think most have switched to the trimester way now. But not all schools.
Dude, I just don't know. I don't know the answer to this shit. I don't know the answer to anything.
I don't know. How do I know, like, kids who are homeschooled and completed everything before they were 18?
Oh, no. I believe homeschooling is the route.
Right.
Yeah. I think homeschooling is the route.
Yeah.
Because most of the people I know that were homeschooled are smarter than me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's genetics, but I also think that has a lot to do with, like, around the 5th grade, no, so I was always real dumb. I had to do summer school forever. I did summer school until in the 4th grade. I had summer school every year through the 4th grade. And then one day, I don't know if it just clicked or if it was the first time, whatever, one of my parents was like, or maybe it was Kyle, one of the people in my immediate family was like, hey, dumbass, if you did good in school, you don't have to go to summer school and you can have a summer. And I was like, what? Like, I could stay home like Kyle? And like, yeah. And I was like, oh. And I hated summer school. Mm-hmm. Hated it. The next year, I got straight A's. 5th grade, straight A's. And I was just like, oh, that was easy. Mm-hmm. And then from then on, high school was easy. Or middle school and high school, I always got like over 3.5 GPA from then on out. But what I noticed was when I hit the 6th grade, the 5th grade, I feel like you don't really know anything in the 5th grade yet. You know, you're just kind of going through things.
Yeah.
The 6th grade, you kind of fall into your niches.
Mm-hmm.
And I started falling in with the troublemakers.
Yeah.
Or like not necessarily kind of like troublemakers in class. And then you start doing dumb shit. And that's what I did from 6th grade to the through the senior year.
Interesting. I thought it was weird. So we hung out with our friends. I guess Lindsay mainly this weekend. And it was interesting because they have a freshman in high school. And, I mean, Sean's been out of high school for 10 years. I've been out of high school for 12 years.
Jesus.
I know. And you got to think that was our senior year, right? So you entered high school 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
First off, I barely remember my freshman year. Do you remember yours?
Mm-hmm.
What?
We've discussed how I have memories of past things and you don't.
I pretty much only remember my senior year and only portions of it. But I noticed this the other day. I was somewhere that I've had memories before, and I was just like flooded with every memory after memory after memory of like being in that area. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, if I just went back to the school and sat in the classrooms and did that shit, like it would all just start flooding back in.
I suppose that makes sense because you aren't you can't really visualize in your head. Like you need an idea to visualize.
1000%.
And like, so sometimes I just like randomly think back to school and in my head I can just like walk through the hallways and think about like the memories I've had in those places. Do you think in words? Or do you have pictures?
Pictures? I ain't a psycho.
That is a thing.
Think in words?
Yeah. Yeah, look it up. It is like a genetic thing.
That's not me, dude.
I just wasn't sure.
Okay. Let's see here. What were you saying, though? About school? Since we were freshmen?
It was just interesting because, like, Lindsay was saying how the school system had to kind of change their way of doing things so much because, like, kids were just being overloaded with, like, homework, and if they were in sports, like, they were just struggling. I was, like, thinking about it, and I was just like, I was in everything. Like, everything. The only time I didn't do a sport in the winter time, but I did choir and jazz band, so, like, I still had lots of things going on. And forensics and whatever. I rarely ever had to do homework. The only year I ever had to do homework was when I was in AP Lit. That was the only class I ever had to do homework in. So it was, like, very interesting to, like, have her hear that they, like, actually have homework that they have to do and, like, all this shit. And I was just like, huh. Like, that's so different from when I went to school.
So were you guys not assigned schoolwork, or do you just get it done in class?
A lot of times I just got it done in class.
So I did too. A lot of the time I would do my schoolwork in study hall, or I would do it in like another class during lecture. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I would do it like in the class before that next class when it was due, you know? Yeah. Did that a lot. Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a study hall until my senior year.
Right, study halls every semester.
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to have a study hall my senior year, but I had 2 classes overlap. So then band and Spanish 4 overlapped. So that kind of sucked because me and Marie were both in both. And we were both, I think it was our final semester that we had to do this. We were both first chair clarinet, so we like got to sit with each other and play whatever. But then we were both in Spanish 4, and we're like, well, we really want our final semester of it. So we had to alternate who would be in Spanish 4 and who was going to be in band. So like for the whole semester, we didn't get to see each other in band. Or maybe like on Fridays we got to see each other.
Why?
Because Spanish 4 and band were the same hour.
So you guys would just switch every other day?
Yeah, so
You're
like
both done.
Mondays, like I would be in band, she would be in Spanish. Tuesdays, I'd be in Spanish, she'd be in band. It was the only way we could each have both classes. It sucked.
Huh.
Spanish 4 was also a joke because it was just like pretty much our friend group in the class. And the teacher was really chill. I loved her. Mrs. Engen. And so a lot of times it was like us just like, she would like have a prompt and then, or like we'd have to try and have conversations in Spanish about like what that was. That was the class that, I just thought about this the other day actually. We joked that me and Sam DeSalle, got married. So the whole like year, we always, like in everything, it was always Mr. and Mrs. Sam DeSalle. It was very entertaining.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's the only reason why I had to study hall, was because I had 2 classes in one period.
Yeah, so I just always put a study hall right before or after my lunch, and I just leave every day.
Yeah, a lot of people would.
That was the way to do it. Because in high school, it was more important to be cool than to learn.
That makes sense. Not at my high school.
So that's why.
We've talked about this. My grade was too smart.
We're not even getting into this. This is the dumbest shit ever. In Sam's school, band was cool. When I got there and band and choir were cool in your grade, I was like when I first met you and you're telling me how like band and choir was cool, I'm like, what do you mean?
Band wasn't cool. Choir was cool.
I just, dude, no. It just, we always bullied those people.
Yeah, not at Altoona.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No. A lot of the band kids also were like the big sports kids. Or I shouldn't say band. A lot of the band or choir kids were a lot of the sports kids. So it really sucked. Oh, this was crazy. So my senior year, so band and choir. So band would go to Florida every 4 years. Choir would go to New York every 4 years. So my senior year, we were going to New York. One, Marie got deathly ill, but that was how her and Andrew started dating, so it worked out for her. 2, it was the same week as the state basketball tournament for girls. Our girls team made it to state. 4, I think there was 4 players that were in choir. So they had to choose if they were going to go play in the state tournament and lose all their money that they spent, because we had to pay for the trip ahead of time. So they would lose all their money or go on the choir trip. And
what'd they do?
Not play in state. I believe they all played in state.
Good. The school should refund them. That's some bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know if they did or not. They might have. But still, I was like, dude, that sucks. I think one of the girls might have gone on the trip, but she was like most likely not going to play.
Sure.
But then it sucked because our band usually goes and plays at state, but 3/4 of the band were in the choir. So we didn't even get to have a band.
That's the dumbest shit I ever fucking heard. All right. We got to move on. We got to get out of this.
Well, you don't like talking about high school?
I don't know. I'm just like not in that anymore.
Dude, when Shaun gets over a conversation, he's just done. He's just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. We're done.
I don't know.
Okay, what are you talking about next, babe?
I ain't got nothing, babe. I'm just seeing where this
You
takes
can't
us.
end a conversation and then not have an idea for the next one.
All right, cool. When you were in high school,
Yeah.
what did you think you were going to be doing at 30 years old?
I thought I was going to be in a lab doing something medical-wise.
You legitimately thought that?
Yeah, like up until my senior year, I wanted to be either a band or a math teacher. That was always one of my things.
Okay.
And then my senior year, I took ecology, and we did like a study on the stream, Otter Creek. And one of the parts of the study was like what kind of organisms were in the stream. Well, in order to identify that, like a lot of them, we had to look them up under a microscope and identify the organisms. And I loved that so much. And then we did like a tour of CBTC, and they talked about like nanotechnology and like just things with small things. So I kind of combined nanotechnology with like ecology and got microbiology. And so that was like my goal senior year was to become a microbiologist and yeah, deal with viruses and bacteria. And I didn't want to like make vaccines. That wasn't like a huge thing I was like concerned about. It was more like just learning about bacteria and viruses is just really cool. So I didn't really, I guess, know what I was going to ever do with that knowledge. But yeah, I just always thought I was going to be in a lab.
Interesting.
What did you think you were going to do?
When?
In high school.
I figured I'd be a welder.
So when did you start working out?
When I was 14.
What year is that? Freshman year? Sophomore year?
Freshman year.
Okay.
So I was hanging out with his friend, Zach Barnes. Mm-hmm. And I was a chunky little kid. Mm-hmm. And I had bitch tits and man titties.
Mm-hmm. Zach Fisher told me you're
Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they used to call me Santa. If anyone, they used to I ran cross country, and I was always like an okay runner, but they called me Santa. And so I did cross country 6th through the 8th grade, and going into my freshman year, I don't know why I didn't run. Like I planned to run cross country, and then I just like. And when my dad got deployed, I was like, fuck it, I don't need to do sports or nothing. I'll just like hang out with my friends. That's when I started smoking the ganj and shit. So anyways, hanging out with Zach, and he says to me, he's like, hey man, if you start lifting with your cousin PJ and you start benching, he's like, you'll lose those bitch tits and you'll get pecs and you'll start pulling the chicks. And I'm like, yeah, PJ's been telling me about the weight room. I should do that. And so PJ's like, hey, you going to the weight room or whatever the first day of powerlifting? And I'm like, yeah. And I go up there and I'm there and I enjoyed the first day. And like Craig always did this like handshake when you leave the gym, right? Boom, did that. And he's like, will we see you tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. And then I came back the next day, and he's like, see you Thursday? I'm like, yeah. Boom, Friday. He's like, see you next week? And I was like, I think I'm going to do this forever. And he's just like, we'll see if you're here next week. And then I just never not trained. Mm-hmm. Forever. I just always was there. Mm-hmm. I probably had I was definitely the most consistent. There was a point in my freshman year where I hadn't missed any training, like zero training I missed, zero. And I go up to Craig and I'm like, hey Craig, my dad asked if I could take the tomorrow off to go fishing. I probably shouldn't do that. And he's like, yeah, you're going to take tomorrow off and go fishing with your dad. And I was like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
And this is Craig Sorry, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're
yeah.
Cousins.
Yeah, whatever. However we're related, yeah.
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 Some type of cousin.
Yeah. And so he's like, yeah, you're going fishing with your dad. And I'm like, all right. And I went fishing instead of training. But it was I started training as freshman, and it was just life. Mm-hmm. I didn't do so I trained for 2 years, and after training for like a year or two, I started getting strong and got pecs, and I literally was known in school for having pecs. Like the whole thing Zach told me to do, I made like my persona. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew me for my pecs. And it's so dope. I had that shirt. Like,
yeah, you did.
Go ahead and touch my pecs or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, and you also had a shirt that says Stud Muffin.
That was the one. So it said, go ahead, you can poke my pecs, and on the back said Stud Muffin. Anyways.
You still have that. Don't you?
No, I don't. I got too big for it. But you know what? I'd probably fit it now.
Yeah.
Sydney and Nicole made that for me. Anyways, so I just made that my persona.
Interesting. It wasn't a white shirt though. Didn't fit.
It was a white shirt. No, they made me a white shirt.
I thought it was black with white writing.
No,
it was
white with black. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Nah, dude, they did me right. So anyways, that like the gym was life, dude. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't so they're like, hey, Shaun, a lot of the coaches and stuff, like, you're strong. You should play football. We need strong guys to play football. And I was just like, I guess. So I started playing football. And then the wrestling coach was like, hey, you're tough. You should wrestle. And I always thought it'd be fun to wrestle because, like, Corey wrestled and shit. And I thought it'd be fun. But I was just like, the one thing I always came back to is, like, if I wrestle, then I can't lift. Like, because wrestling practice was during lifting. And I was like, I can't miss lifting. I can't do that.
Did your school have a powerlifting team or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you compete?
My freshman and sophomore year, but then Craig retired. So then I just, like, ran the weight room my junior and senior year.
Oh, so you didn't have, like, a coach to compete?
No, I just coached out. Like, there was, like, eight of us that trained there. I just became the coach my junior year.
Damn.
But we didn't go compete.
Interesting.
So, yeah. It's like, I don't know. But so, but yeah, it just was more important to me at the time, like, junior, senior year, to, like, coach the other guys that were there and lifting and, like, lift than it was to do sports. But, like, looking back on it, I really wish I would have wrestled. That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But whatever. Live and learn. What can you do?
Exactly.
So, I don't know. That's kind of how it shimmied down. But so I loved shop classes, and I always did shop classes, and I planned to be a welder. Like, I planned to be a welder. Then I went and talked to a Marine recruiter, and I was like, damn, dude. When I was 16. Talked to a Marine recruiter when I was 16. I was like, yeah, it seems about right, dude. I should probably do that. But I planned to join the Army when I was 14. And I was like, but so I was talking to Marine recruiter, I was like, yeah, I should do that. And then my friend Tommy joined the National Guard. And he's like, Shaun, you realize you don't have to wait now till your senior year to join. You can join the day you turn 17. And I was like, what? So I went and talked to the National Guard recruiter, and he's like, yeah, dude, like, you can join the day you turn 17, and then you start doing this, it's like RSP or something. Yeah, RSP, I think. Something, I don't fucking know. Anyways, you pretty much start drilling when you're 17. And then you go to basic training between your junior and senior year. And then you drill for the year, and then you go, it's called split up, and then you go, after you graduate, then you go to AIT. And I did that because I wanted to do the Marine route, but I had to wait until I was a senior or till I graduated to go to boot camp. And I was like, man, you're telling me I can get started at this, like, right now? Right. So I did that. The week I turned 17, I signed. Yeah, it was like within 5-6 days after I turned 17, I signed papers and joined. Yeah, so I did that shit. But so I always planned on being a welder. Like, I planned to join the service and be a welder. That was, like, my career path. And then I joined the National Guard, and the recruiter's like, well, where are you going to college? You get free college. And I was like, I plan to go across the street to the tech school for welding. And he's like, dude, you can go anywhere in Wisconsin and get your school paid for. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, I never even, like, thought about going to a 4-year college. I'm a dumbass. And he's like, yeah, dude. And I'm like, well, where's my unit? My unit's out of Menominee. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go to Stout. And I was like, but I'm going to just apply to Stout in case, because when in doubt, go to Stout, you know. If not there, go to Eau Claire. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'll try Eau Claire, Stout. I really wanted to go to La Crosse. Because pretty much what I decided at that point was, I was like, oh, wait. It's like, I could go to school for, like, athletic training or personal training, because I love training. It's my life. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this instead of welding. Fucking hindsight 2020, gang. If I had known this ahead of time, I just went for welding. But there's so many things I would have done different, but it's too late. It's all about the journey. So anyways, I decided to go to Eau Claire for 4 years. And my first year at Eau Claire, I kind of realized how fucking stupid I am again. And I went and talked to my advisor. I'm like, yo, dude, like, what's the chances I could make it into, like, at the athletic training program or physical therapy? And she laughed. And I'm like, fuck. Because at that time I had, like, a 2.8 GPA or something. She's like, there is a I had 3.2 GPA, whatever. She's like, there's a very low possibility. She's like, you would essentially have to 4.0. This is at the end of my first year of college. She's like, to get into athletic program, you're going to need a 4.0 for the next like 2 years to get into that. And I was like, fuck. And she's like, and if you want physical therapy, you're going to have to 4.0 the rest of your career. And I'm like,
nope.
I was like, I'm too fucking stupid. She's like, yeah. I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, I was like, if I only get a kinesiology degree, how much money can I make? And she's like 30 to 35 grand. And I was like, and what'll I do? She's like, you only have one option, be a personal trainer. I was like, well, I don't need a degree to be a personal trainer. She's like, no, you don't. And I was like, I can go make, at this time I worked at Menards.
Yeah.
So I could go work at Menards full time for $35 a year. She's like, yeah. And I was like, why the fuck are people in this degree? And she's like, honestly, I have no idea. She's like, if you're not going to post-secondary school, this is a useless degree. I was like, thank you. Thank you so much. She's like, go to the tech. The tech had a PTA, physical therapy assistant program.
Oh, yeah.
Had a 2-year wait. I'm like, physical therapy assistant, that's right in the line of work. 2 years. In the meantime, I'm going to just get a business degree.
Yeah. And
then I'll hit that for 2 years and out 4 years. And that starting out made 40 grand a year. So I'm like, 40 grand a year. I'm going to the tech, 4 years. It's cheap. It's easy, whatever. Boom. I pop up there and I take business management. And I was like, a business management, an accounting, a speech. The speech class was the greatest thing in the world. Accounting and something else. And I took those classes and I was like, I'm not signing up. I'm not even getting on the fucking list for the PTA. I don't even give a fuck about PTA. I'm going to do business.
You fell in love.
I'm like, I was just sitting here listening to this and it all made sense, right? Mm-hmm. I'm listening to the instructor, and the instructor used to, the first guy, Tim Stone, he was a regional manager for McDonald's around the area. Then he started running a bank. He was in like the general manager for a bank or whatever, mm-hmm. and branch manager for a bank, whatever. And I was like, what this guy's teaching makes a lot of sense. And at this time in the National Guard, I'm just giving a recap of my life. Are you enjoying this?
Yeah, no, this is fine. This is great. I'm literally just going to title this like, learn about like our lives.
So at this point, when I'm taking business management and speech, keep in mind, guys, the best thing, a couple of the best things that happened for me was I took a writing class with a feminist teacher at the university, mm-hmm. and she taught me how to write. Hated that bitch. Want to punch her in the face. She gave me D's and shit. Terrible. But she taught me how to write. Dumb bitch. Anyways, then I took a speech class, mm-hmm. and we had to speak. The tech is the most beautiful thing in the world because we had to do a speech in front of the class every fucking week.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. That's crazy.
Dude, she literally was just like, you're in a speech class. Get up, you're presenting about this topic. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. But then you present every week, so then at the end of 18 weeks, you're like, yeah, whatever, I've given like fucking 15 presentations. Who gives a fuck? Mm-hmm. It's just talking.
Yeah.
So that's how I was able to start talking, and which helped a lot when I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyways, what happened was I understood the business management shit. It made a lot of sense. And at that time, in the guards, my squad, mm-hmm. I was in weapons squad, and we didn't have a team leader, and we didn't have a squad leader. And so I just got tagged as a specialist. And so a team leader's E5. So I just fresh E4, team leader's E5, and then a squad leader's E6. They're like, Toots, you're stand-in squad leader. And I'm like, all right, what do I do? And they're like, lead the squad. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like...
And you're what, only 2 years into National Guard?
At this point, I'm 17, full of 18. I'm 19 and a half, 2.5, about 2.5, 3 years in. Okay. And I'm like, okay, lead a squad, sure, makes sense. I'm like, how long is this going to last? You know, like, a month, maybe 2. It was over a year. And I'm like...
And it sucks they can't just, like... They don't just promote you then.
Oh, no, dude. No. So here I am. They would have NCO meetings. And I'm like, do I need to be in them? And they're like, fuck you. And I'm just like, okay.
But I got a squad.
But, like, how do I... Whatever. So they would be like, fuck you. You're not going to the NCO meetings. And then they'd pull me into a meeting to, like, brief me on everything I got to do and shit. So here I am in a shack with the platoon leader, the E7, and then all the E6s, and I'm just sitting here like an E4. Meanwhile, there's a shit ton of team leaders in all the other positions that easily could have popped up into my role. Nope, they just made me do it. So here I am just like in the same room with all those guys. That's kind of how like Zahar and I got a connection. Mm-hmm. And I'm just getting my dick kicked in. And throughout this time, occasionally we'd have like fill-ins, like they'd fill in for like a month. Or like I had a technically squad leader who I had to report to, but he was filled in for the platoon leader for the year. Mm-hmm. So like barely ever was he actually like my squad leader. He just did like my my reviews and shit, and then I would just go to him with questions. So when they put people in charge of shit to like run certain stuff, you're either an E5 or an E6, right? But I'm an E4 with a squad. So like, Tudor, your squad is running the ammo shack today. Also, here's 4 more dudes because whatever. Because I was like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I think I need like 7, 8 dudes. You know, I've got like 4, and so like here's 4 more, whatever. So what I did was usually the military is just like kicking your dick in, like they lead through yelling, right? And I was like, okay, I'm taking this management class. I'm in speech class. I'm like, what if I take these and I try implementing them in this ammo shack? This is when it all first started clicking for me. So I'm going to put this on the plate tonight. And we had the night shift, so it's like fucking running the ammo shack from, I don't know, 7 p.m. until 2 a.m. or whatever the fuck it was. So that whole day, that whole night, I'm like positive reinforcement, showing the guys how to do things, then watching them do it, and then like giving them positive reinforcement. I bought them like Gatorade. I like check with them on all their shit, right? And it just ran smooth. The whole 5 hours ran smooth. Our counts were on at the end of the night. For them, like nothing, you know, everything just went smooth, and it worked out as an E4 running this shit. And at the end of it, one of the guys like, hey, Tudor, I wanted to thank you. This was the best experience I've had in the military. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, it was fun. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you were nice, and like we had a good time, even though like it's the fucking shittiest shift to have, the night shift. Everyone else is sleeping. You know, a lot of other Joes are sleeping, and he's just like, this was great, thank you. And then there's like multiple other people like, yeah, dude, this was a really fun night, thank you. And I was just like, holy fuck, it works. Like this works. And so I proceeded, dude, to like you know, in that role, I would take the shit I learned, and on drill weekends I'd implement it, and it was good. And eventually I got promoted, still in E4, but to a corporal. And they took me out of weapons squad and put me in a team leader position. And actually, sorry. Before I got promoted, they took me out. So I had been squad leader for over a year. They took me out and they put me into a team underneath a team leader. So I go from being in charge of a full squad, and underneath me for that squad, I think I had like 6 dudes, 5 or 6 dudes, something like that. They take me out and they put me in a team underneath a team leader. So a team of 4. So you got the team leader and then 3 other Joes. And I couldn't fucking handle it. I got pissed. Because here, I just spent the last year leading. And implementing all my shit for leading. Now this guy's telling me what to do and is wrong. You know, it was wrong. and we were running missions, and I had been in charge of like running my portion of the mission and stuff, and now I'm like taking direction for running a mission, and they're doing it wrong. And we got like our AT in, and halfway through a mission, I just ream out the team leader. Bad. In the middle of a mission, run through the woods, ream them bad. And I'm like, you're done. You follow me. Follow me through the rest of the mission with the rest of the team. Get it all done. The end of that training, oof. I'm over here like, I know I'm getting fucked. I don't even care. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm like, whatever, do whatever you want to me. At that point, I've gotten yelled at so many times from like stepping out of line. You. I'm just like, dude, I literally, at points, I walked up in front of like E6s as an E4, and I'm just like with platoon leader there, and with like PSG there, platoon. And they would tell me something, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck, and I'd walk away. And one time, the platoon leader was just like, what? He can do that? And they're all just like, I guess, I don't know. And I'm like, whatever. I just got numb to it because I knew if I was in the wrong, I took the shit. If I wasn't in the wrong, I didn't care about saying I wasn't in the wrong. I did not care. And so I just take whatever shit came my way. So anyways, it was kind of fun.
Wait, did you get fucked up or what happened?
Oh, the end of that?
Yeah, you can't just leave the story like, oh, I was prepared to. Did you get yelled at or what happened?
Team leader came up to me and thanked me for taking control, putting him in his place, and like teaching him. And he was like, pretty much said like he respects me so much and he's very grateful to have me on the team. And after that, it was smooth sailing. Yeah. Because then like he respected me, I respected him for like understanding like his pitfalls. And after that, him and I were really good friends the rest of the time we served together.
That's good.
Yeah. But then like very, very shortly after that, I was promoted to corporal and put in a team leader position. Then they wanted to they wanted me to go get my E5.
So you could become a squad leader?
No, so I could just be actual team leader, get my 5, my sergeant. And I said no.
Yeah, because that was when you decided you weren't going to re-enlist.
Yep. I was on like the first page for re-enlistment out of like, all, and I'm like, nah, dude, I ain't staying here. The problem wasn't what I noticed at this point in time in my career. 4 years in, so I'm 4 years in at this point, and what I realized was, the good guys get out. The dirtbags who just fucking stick around end up getting promoted through like time and rank, and they end up being the tops. God damn it, why am I'm losing it here. I'm sorry, I lost it.
Like, what do you mean? Like D7s or what?
No, E9. They end up being like the E8s, E9s, and running the.
Is that what like chief is?
No. That's a completely different thing. I'm out of it. I don't know. I always call them top. I don't know. I just always call them top. Whatever the term is.
So the really shitty ones always became that.
Yeah, after enough time.
Yeah.
And so what happened was we had a really good one.
Yeah.
So we had a really good top, and then after he left, we got this dude in who was just shit. Didn't run a good company, nothing like that. And first sergeant, Jesus Christ, his first sergeant. I can't believe I fucked that up. So anyways, it's first sergeant was what it's called. But it was once you see those shitty people, and I could see it at the E5 levels and the E6 levels, these dudes just got put in these roles when they shouldn't have been, and And so that was enough for me to, and a lot of the good guys who were like, to re-enlist, you know, you're great, you should re-enlist and stuff, they were all getting out. And I'm like, if you guys are getting out, me too. I'm not sticking in and doing this shit, which I'm really glad, hindsight, that I got out, because there's a lot of dumb shit that had to go on.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, there's a lot of people that said they were going to re-enlist, and then once they found out they were getting deployed, then they all didn't re-enlist.
Yeah.
So Shaun would have been stuck getting deployed.
There's still a lot of good guys that got deployed.
Yeah, that is true, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, I could just see the writing on the wall for the whole thing of, like, a lot of the people said they were going to do stuff and then they didn't. And I just wasn't going to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
that's how you fell in love with business.
Yeah, so pretty much, like, at that point, 4 years in, this was 2016, so about what's up?
No, go ahead.
What's up?
Go ahead.
4.5 years in?
Yeah.
Whatever. I decided it was time to go back to the university and finish out my degree in accounting. Go back for my degree in accounting, meet Sam in American Indian Studies. And in that time, I was either at the tech or working with Nate doing construction.
Yeah.
And I even took a semester off. My cousin told me that I'd go nowhere in life since I was taking a semester off. It's the dumbest thing I could do. I'd be a white, uneducated male. So that was, because she said once I take a semester off, it's over for me. Like, I'd never go back to school. I'd be a white, uneducated male. I was like, yeah, watch. How'd that go? So anyways, so, you know, took some time off, went to school, was at tech, whatever, and went back to the university. And at this point, I started, I was training a lot. I switched from weightlifting to powerlifting. Back to powerlifting. So I did powerlifting to weightlifting, back to powerlifting, because I was so sick of being small. I wanted my pecs back. I wanted to be big again. Yeah. I got on gear and all that shit, and went back to the university, met Sam, and that's when Ryan and I started working in group homes, and then we got fired from group homes and we started our own. Yeah.
And accounting was too hard, so you switched to business management.
Yeah. So while we're kind of really cruising through this now, but we're coming out of time, so someday we'll dive deep into it. But we're coming out of we started our own business, and when we finally got the business going, it was in the summer, and Ryan and I had to alternate 24-hour shifts.
Yeah.
But we were able to be gone for up to 3 hours a day, twice a day. But we always had to be there at night and all that shit, and we were on call the whole time. But so we set up our school schedule so that I think Ryan was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday he worked, and mine was Monday, Wednesday, Friday I worked, and then we alternated Sundays.
Yeah.
But 24-hour shifts, we alternated that. And so by the time I got back into school, I realized really quick, like, with working every other day, 24 hours, running a business, I was like, this accounting and finance is really difficult, because it wasn't, dude, at the tech, they really helped you understand accounting. It made a lot of fucking sense.
Yeah.
And finance too, made a lot of sense, dude. When I went back to the university, I took like accounting 202, and that was fine and shit, or whatever it was. But then I got into like the little bit higher level accounting and finance courses, and I'm like, this is too much work. I don't have time to do this kind of schoolwork. I got shit to do, like run a company. So I went in and saw my advisor, and I'm like, hey, doc, how do I get out of here as fast as possible? And he's like, entrepreneurship. And I'm like, okay, well, what my minor being, we're looking at my credits and everything. And he's like, well, if you do a marketing minor with entrepreneurship, you get out of here the fastest. I'm like, well, I'm in entrepreneurship. Marketing can't be bad to learn. Let's do it. And so that's how I finished out the rest of my career at the rest of school. Yeah. And I always thought I'd go back for my MBA. I planned, I was like big. I wanted to get an MBA, really, really want to get an MBA. But I realized, dude, after being out into the work world for a couple years,
you don't need it.
What a fucking waste that would be.
Yeah. I mean, you only were going to get it because the National Guard was going to pay for it.
Well, that was one, but the second reason I wanted to be a professor.
Yeah, that's true.
Then I started making money, and I was like, I make more than professors make. That would be fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's the low and skinny on like school and how I got to business. And
Yeah, we don't need to talk about mine.
A lot of shit in between, that happened and stuff. But
yeah,
that was kind of the low, quick, skinny on what I planned to do and what I ended up doing.
Low, quick, skinny. That was 20 minutes.
Man, I could have talked for like 3-4 hours on that.
25 minutes, I think, actually.
I
was like sitting here and I was just like, there's no way I'm going to talk about anything that happened in my college days.
Did you want to?
I mean, mine was very less uneventful or less eventful than yours.
Give us the keynotes.
I went to MATC, which is a tech college in Madison. My first year, I kind of took like I was in this thing called the Connections program. So I just had to take like all my generals basically at a different school. And then I automatically, once I met the criteria, I automatically got to transfer to UW-Madison. I didn't have to apply for it or anything. But I was also considered a UW-Madison student. Mm-hmm. So I got all the benefits of that without having to pay the price. It was genius.
That's great.
Yeah. And so I started going to MATC and I was doing my generals. So I took like some lazy classes. I took like ballet and theater and
sure,
writing, psychology, whatever. My first semester, and then my second semester I took some generals that were like actually my field. So like one of them was zoology, mm-hmm. or zoology is how some people pronounce it, but it is zoology. And so it was like the study of like animals, obviously. And it was one of my favorite classes. It's really like what fueled me to like pursue like biology, like for sure. Like I was like, this is so cool. I got to cut open so many cool creatures. Loved it. And I got an A in that class.
Okay.
Passed in flying colors in that class.
Yeah.
And that year I think I took like math. I think that's when I took like math and psychology, and I got just A's and everything. And that semester my high school boyfriend broke up with me, and I got super upset, so I decided to move back home. So I transferred to UW-Eau Claire then, and I was super excited because they had a marching band, and I loved band, so I was like, you know what, this is perfect. Came to Eau Claire. Then, shit hit the fan, pretty much. The biology classes were so much harder, so much harder. I had to retake a lot of my, like, in order to get even to taking any of the upper level classes, you had to pass, there's 3 intro bio courses, 221, 222, 110, 111, 112. And then, so I didn't pass 110 the first time, retook that. Didn't pass 111 the first time, retook that. And both times, like, I passed the second time, like, with, like, a B or something. By the time I passed 111, they were restructuring how they were doing the core classes. So then they weren't offering 112, and I was like, fuck. So then I had to redo all the core classes, which they then switched to 222 and 223. And so they should have fucking told me, like, you keep getting, because you had to get a C or better to go to the next one. So I kept getting C minuses in these classes. And they should have just told me, hey, you've had to redo this 3 times, just stop, switch. But they didn't. So
I've never been so grateful for my advisor than when she's like, you're not smart enough, do something else. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, my advisor never told me that. The first one I had, he was really cool, but then he retired. So he didn't really give a shit because he was retiring. Eventually I did pass the core classes and started taking the upper levels, and I passed most of them with C pluses, B minuses. Any of them that had lab portions, I did really good in. I was really good at the lab portion stuff. Right. I sucked at the memorization for the test. Right. Sucked at it. And I got my new advisor, and he fucking hated me. Right. Hated me. He said if I wanted to become a microbiologist, because he was a microbiologist, if I wanted to become a microbiologist, I could only work a maximum of 12 hours a week. And he's like, you can survive on 12 hours a week. I was like, in what fucking world can I survive on 12 hours a week? Right. So I was a part-time student, I think, technically. No, 12 credits was the minimum you could take to be a full-time student. So I took 12 credits every semester. I worked 30 plus hours a week, and it took me 7 years to graduate.
And then you didn't do anything with it.
No, about my 5th or 6th year in, I really hated it. But I was like, there's a point where once you take too many credits, you have to pay double to get those credits. So it was too far along my degree to switch without having to pay double at some point to finish so I just had to finish that degree.
Right.
And because then I could like take something else, whatever, and it'd be fine. But so yeah, that was that nonsense. It sucked.
Huh.
Yeah, but I was in the marching band the whole time, which I loved. The friends I made in that, and I loved all the experiences I got in it. The marching band is really what has fueled me to love traveling so much. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing that I'm very grateful for coming back to Eau Claire, and doing that is the marching band. Yeah, and then obviously somewhere in there, I met Shaun. It was a good time. Good time.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I think about the time that you and I met is when I started losing the passion for it. And Shaun would like watch me study, and he'd just like, fuck, that does not look fun. And I was like, nope.
That's so stupid, dude. Here I am in business, and I'm just like, yo, look at what I got to do today. And I like wrote out a business plan, and I'm like, I just wrote out my company's business plan. And then she's just like, here's 200 note cards I need to memorize by next week. And I'm like, that's stupid. Literally every morning, we would go to the library. Morning and afternoon, actually. We'd go to the library. I'd find a whiteboard. And just fucking the entire time, I was just rewriting all these things that I needed to know. Yeah, and I would just fucking not do that.
Yeah.
I did really struggle, dude. Algebra used to be super easy. In high school, algebra was easy. In high school, algebra was super easy. Freshman year in college and whatever, all easy, right? Dude, I didn't fucking touch algebra for 3 years or 4 years, and I had to do it. Because I remember my freshman year in college, I had a physics class, and there was a problem I had to figure out, and I forgot the application that, like, on how to figure it out. So I just, like, made up my own algebra problem, and I just worked through it like longhand algebra.
Yeah.
And I didn't write it down on the sheet of paper because I was like, the teacher's going to think I'm a fucking idiot. And so I'm like, I can't write that down. So I just, like, kind of, like, wrote a couple little things and, like, got to the end of it. And he calls me up the next week, and he's like, what is this? How'd you get this? And I'm like, because it was right. He had it right. And I'm like, oh, I got it right. Sweet. I was hoping I would. And he's like, how'd you do it? Like, did you copy? And I'm like, oh, no. I was like, I forgot how to do it, so I just did it like this. And I, like, spent 5 minutes writing it out for him, and he's like, oh, my God, that worked. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I've never seen anyone do it that way. And I was like, oh, cool. That's just how I figured it out, dude. So, like, the algebra shit made sense to me. I, like, made up my own thing for it and shit, and which was really cool. But I took 3 years off of algebra, and when I came back and had to take algebra to finish my degree, dude, I was like an idiot.
Dude, it's so funny because, like, as soon as, I took a semester off of a math class, it fucked me up, dude. I was so lost.
Dude, you had to, like, Sam had to, like, reteach me algebra, and I'm sitting here like, this is basic algebra. I used to do this shit in high school easy.
Dude, did I tell you when I was dating Felon, he didn't have his GED. So he had to take, like, obviously, like, English, whatever, and the math one, and so he always got the workbooks, and so I'd, like, help him on it, especially with the math stuff. The workbook had something wrong, and he was just like, because I was just like, oh, it was like figure out X or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I like figured it out for him. I was fucking in calc, whatever. I was
Right.
whatever. And I was just like, oh, you got to do it like this. And we looked in the back of the book and it was wrong. And I was just like, no, they're wrong. I was like, this is the actual answer. So we brought it to like the tutor or whatever. And she's just like, I've never seen anyone solve it like that. Like, this is the right answer. And I was like, no, like, they're actually wrong. Like, however, like, the way they were trying to solve it was not right. And I was
Damn.
like, I'm in fucking calc.
Right.
Like, I can tell you this is wrong.
Yeah, that's
It
crazy.
was ridiculous.
It's wild, dude. I don't know. This shit's it was tough. It's tough. Like
Yeah.
it's when you take time off, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, so
I've heard of like parents having to help their kids on like math problems and like struggling, and I'm just like, fuck, dude. And now they like don't teach anything the same way we learned. They don't do long division anymore.
dude, because I always thought that. I always thought like my parents, they'd help me a little bit, but they wouldn't know too much stuff when it came to like when I was in like algebra 2 and stuff and whatever, and they're like, we can't help you too much. And I was just like, oh, dude, when I'm a parent, that'll be so easy to help them. Fuck no. I ain't gonna remember any of that shit. Period. Zero. None. Zilch. I'll be like, I don't know, math. Cool. That's definitely like math is massively a muscle you need to flex.
Yeah. Here's a fun little snippet for you of back to high school quick. My senior year, I took pre-calc, and math was always my strong suit. Like, I never fucking had to study for that shit. I was always getting A's in math. Hence why I wanted to be a math teacher. And my best friend at the time, Jessica, she sat right behind me in pre-calc. And pre-calc was second period, by the way. So I was fucking always tired. Always. So I'd like walk into pre-calc, fucking doze off the entire class, just like half asleep. And what was his name? Schaefer, Mr. Schaefer. He was like an older gentleman, just like stern, but also like super nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always just like be like, Sam, come on, wake up. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Still fucking fall asleep in most of the classes. I'd wake up because at the end, we'd then like work on the problems like in the book or the homework or whatever. And I'd wake up and I'd just be like, okay, just get these problems right. Jessica, who was awake the entire time, would struggle, and she'd be like, hey, can you teach me how to do this? So I slept through the whole lesson, turn around, teach Jessica everything afterwards. And Schaefer hated it. He was always so pissed. And I was just like, I obviously don't need to be awake for this if I can get it.
Yeah.
I tried to get them to let me take I didn't get a parent signature to take like this math test in middle school to like bump me up a level. I forgot to get my parent signature, so they wouldn't let me take the test, which I think is dumb. So all my friends got to bump up a level and I was just behind. So my senior year, I tried to let them get me to take I tried to let them allow me to take pre-calc and AP calc at the same semester, and they're just like, no, you can't do that. And I was really mad about it. But then I slept all through pre-calc, and I was like, I could have fucking been taking both of these and had no issues, guys. Come on.
Huh. Dude, I took pre-calc. I made it through the first quarter, and I dropped it.
Did you?
It was not fucking easy. I couldn't handle it, dude. I was like, this shit don't even make no sense. I'm dipping.
I prefer algebra and geometry. Calculus isn't bad. I made it all the way to Calc 3, but it's gross. It becomes more letters than numbers, and then it's not fun.
Yeah, fuck all that.
Okay, that's what we got for you guys today. How about you get to hear a little insight into our lives?
Surprisingly more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Reminiscing?
Yeah.
It is interesting to see like how we came about. I mean, I guess we could talk like real quick. I obviously decided not to go into microbiology. I found a job at Gold Star. Just kind of thrive there, I guess. I don't know. I always worked in the mall, and I was always had management positions in the mall, and Shaun was just like, I'm not going to keep dating you if you're going to stay in the mall.
100%.
Which, it was a really good ultimatum. So then I found Gold Star, which was really good for me. And then Shaun had a management position open at one of the group homes, so I took that. And then we really watched me thrive there.
Mm-hmm.
And really found my passion for like system creating and managing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that came about. honestly.
Then you went back to Gold Star, supervisor. Now you're manager there. And then, yeah.
And then eventually I worked my way back to Shaun and I working together. So there's that. I did try to get one kind of it wasn't a micro job. Remember it was that
It was a lab job.
It was a lab job.
Green Bay.
No. It was the one in Bloomer.
That's right.
They didn't like when I couldn't answer any of the questions in terms of like lab experience.
Yeah.
So like one of the questions was like problem solving, and I was just like, oh well, I work at Yankee Candle and like I have to do this all the time, and they did not like that.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting. That job was what, 14 an hour?
Yeah, it wasn't that much. Yeah.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's
I did try looking for micro jobs. The issue also was you needed to have a certificate, like a lab certificate, which the 4-year degree doesn't give you. So in order to even work in a lab, I had to go back to the tech to get this 2-year certificate.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
It was the dumbest thing ever.
Yep.
And that is why I do not like the advisors in the biology department at UW Eau Claire.
I just think you gotta be very careful going to school.
Very careful. Definitely look into what you can do with the degree and do it throughout your years too. Because I did when I started going. I looked into microbiology and I was like, dude, I can get a lab job for $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. This is dope. But we have to remember, I graduated 7 years later. So by the time I graduated, then they were like, you need this 2-year certificate and you're only going to get paid $50,000.
It wasn't even that.
No.
It was like 35,000 to 40,000.
And so if I would have paid attention throughout the process, then I could have been like, oh, this isn't going to be a fantastic thing anymore. Like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's for sure what I was doing, which worked out well.
Yeah, it did. Either way, we got to meet each other, and
here we are.
Cool. Well, that's what I got. Our next podcast will be on our adventure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well,
I hope you enjoyed learning about us.
Yeah. Catch you on Monday.
See ya.
Peace.